Behind the Red Line, Episode 10, The Seven Bridges, Killer, Edgecombe County, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 2005 to 2009. Edgecombe County had always been a place where secrets grew wild. The fields stretched out in every direction, flat, endless, patient. Thick pines guarded the roads like silent watchers, and the swamps held history beneath their mud that no one wanted to talk about. Not yet. Not until the bodies began to rise. In the small towns tucked between these back roads, Rocky Mount, Whitakers, Princeville, poverty was the kind you could feel in the air. Women walked the streets because they had to. Some sold what they could. Some traded minutes for survival. Some were fighting addiction. Some were fighting the world. And through these towns moved a shadow, a man who blended into the poverty, who watched women the world didn't protect, who studied the back roads the way hunters study trails. He learned which bridges were abandoned, which fields stayed quiet, which women wouldn't be searched for quickly enough. Between 2005 and 2009, that shadow stalked Edgecombe County. 9 women dead, several more missing, 9 lives stolen, 9 families broken, 1 community terrorized, and a killer hiding among them. Tonight, we walk into those woods. We follow those fields. We step under the 7 bridges, where the truth was buried in the mud and where monsters walked in daylight. This is Behind the Red Line, Episode 10, The 7 Bridges Killer. Before the newspapers cared, before the police connected the cases, before anyone knew a serial killer lived among them, one woman vanished. She walked down East Raleigh Boulevard on a humid summer night. Streetlights flickered above her like weak promises. A distant train horn moaned across the fields. She tugged her jacket tighter, even though the air was warm, because the night felt wrong. A car slowed beside her. A man leaned over the passenger seat. He said something too soft to hear. She hesitated. Fear, need, exhaustion, hunger, addiction, all tangled inside her. He unlocked the door. That was all it took. She stepped inside, the door shut, and she disappeared into the dark. Her family waited days before calling the police. The police waited days before taking it seriously. And by the time anyone realized she didn't run off, her body was already in the woods. She would not be the last. Rocky Mount in the early 2000s was a town struggling to breathe. Factories closed, jobs vanished. Addiction ran through neighborhoods like a storm. Women turned to survival sex work, not because they wanted to, but because there was no other way to live. Everyone knew each other. Everyone knew who was using. Everyone knew who was missing. But poverty numbed the alarms. Police saw women with records, not women with families, not women with value, not women who needed protection. And predators. They saw opportunity. The 7 Bridges killer didn't hunt in the shadows. He hunted in plain sight in neighborhoods where no one paid attention to the disappearances. He didn't stalk the wealthy. He stalked the women the system had forgotten. In 2007, a farmer walking his land made a discovery that would haunt Edgecombe County forever. A body, decomposed, hidden in a remote field near one of the old bridges. She had been there for months, maybe longer. Police investigated, then shrugged. A tragedy, they said. Maybe drugs. Maybe exposure. They didn't say, "This is the work of a killer." They didn't say, "This woman didn't walk here alone." They didn't say, "We are in danger." They closed the file, filed it away, moved on, and the killer kept hunting. Edgecombe County had dozens of small bridges, old wooden ones, rusted metal ones, forgotten concrete slabs at the ends of dirt roads. Locals called them the 7 Bridges, not because there were exactly 7, but because it sounded mythic, haunted. True. These bridges became dumping grounds, not by accident, but by design. The killer knew these areas were isolated. He knew how long it took for remains to be found. He knew rain would wash away footprints. He knew animals would disturb evidence. He knew the woods would swallow screams. He knew the police wouldn't search here. 7 Bridges was more than a location. It was his hunting ground. And for years, he moved through it without ever being seen. Their names were spoken quietly before they were shouted publicly. Black women with lives far more complicated, beautiful, and painful than the headlines ever showed. Some battled addiction. Some were trying to get clean. Some were homeless. Some were loved deeply by their families. Some had children waiting for them. Some disappeared without anyone calling for them soon enough. Some were last seen walking the same strips, the same motels, the same neighborhoods. They had dreams. They had pasts. They had trauma. They had hopes. They were human beings caught in cycles of poverty and addiction that their town didn't know how to save them from. The killer chose them because society failed them, and he counted on that failure. In 2009, everything changed. Search teams combing the rural areas near 7 Bridges discovered something horrifying. Another body, then another, then another. All in different stages of decomposition. All linked to the same missing women the town had been whispering about for years. All killed by the same man. The county panicked. Families demanded justice. Community leaders begged police to act. People protested in the streets. Because the truth was undeniable. A serial killer lived in Edgecombe County, and he had been killing women for years. Not 1 year, not 2. Years. And no one stopped him. One name kept surfacing. Antoine Pittman. A man with a record. A man who lived near the dump sites. A man known around the areas where women disappeared. A man who had attacked women before. A man with a car that matched a description. He blended into the neighborhoods. He knew the women. He knew their struggles. He knew their desperation. He knew how to approach without raising suspicion. When police questioned him, there was something off. Coldness, disconnection, a lack of fear. He was eventually convicted of one of the murders, but the county whispered he did more. Families believed he was responsible for all 9 murders. Some detectives agreed. Others thought multiple men were involved, because a town full of predators loves a system full of neglect. But Pittman was the only one who saw a courtroom. The others were shadows who drifted back into the swamp, just like West Mesa, just like New Bedford, just like too many cases involving marginalized women. These women weren't protected. Their disappearances weren't prioritized. Their lives weren't respected. Their families begged. Their friends searched. Their community shouted. But their cries were swallowed by poverty, racism, addiction stigma, and institutional failure. The killer didn't escape justice through brilliance. He escaped through neglect. He picked the victims he knew no one would investigate quickly. He killed in areas police rarely patrolled. He hid bodies in places only locals knew. He timed his attacks during periods when missing women barely made it into the system. He succeeded because the system enabled him. Today, the Seven Bridges area looks peaceful. Trees rustling, water trickling, wildlife moving quietly. But the land remembers. The soil holds the weight of those women. The air feels heavier in the places their bodies were found. Birds fall silent near some of the fields. Locals swear they hear whispers in the woods. Not ghosts, but echoes of injustice. A killer walked here, maybe more than one, and someone still knows the truth. Because killers don't operate alone in a vacuum. They operate in systems that allow them to hunt. The women of Edgecombe County deserved more than the world gave them. They deserved time. They deserved protection. They deserved a system that fought for them. Instead, they became victims of a man who believed no one cared about their lives, and of a world that proved him right for far too long. But tonight, their names rise above the fields. Their stories refuse to stay buried in the mud. Their memories overshadow the men who hurt them. Because the bridges may still stand silent, but we do not. This is Behind the Red Line. Episode 10, The Seven Bridges Killer.